talk briefly about some of what, or is it all of it?
Some of what?
All about, is it worth just highlighting some of what we're not to do?
You know what, so that's why we're gonna go. I firmly believe, even though we're a small church, I think this is important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been doing this for years at Trinity. I think we first started doing it when we had a huge VBC, but it's just important stuff. I mean, it's just the age that we live in. So are these, yeah, let me just put these away. So I'm just gonna go through line by line. And then at the end, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, we can do that. Okay, so everybody have one, yes. Adult and student volunteer to minor safe touch and interaction policies and procedures. In order to prevent physical and sexual abuse as best as possible and to protect all adult and student volunteers from false accusations, we have created the following Trinity Church Safe Touch policy. All adults and student volunteers will be directly involved, with the care, taking, and instruction of all minors under the protection of our church, whether as an employee or volunteer, must read through and agree to abide by all these policies. These policies will be closely monitored. Any infractions will result in removal from ministry. Please ask any questions you may have before signing this statement, declaring you have read and agree to conform to this policy. Please understand we are not trying to be offensive, but must be very specific about behaviors that are acceptable and those behaviors that are not acceptable. So note, children and minor are usually used interchangeably and mean the same thing. So 1, always remain visible to others when interacting with children. 2, we encourage you.
Sorry, Stephanie, do you want to explain kind of what that means?
I think, yeah, I mean, if you want to add something through each one, but that to me means that, you're not playing hide and seek and going into the closet or something like that. You're not, oh, let me help you do this. And it could be very innocent, but I think the appearance is just not good, and we just.
You're never alone with a child.
Right.
Period.
Right, exactly. And it's, if it's a young child, like we're gonna come across something in here, like if I have to take a child to the bathroom, like let's say I have a 4-year-old and they are just newly potty trained or something, I'm gonna take them to the bathroom and I'm gonna close the door. We have in the nursery, we have a half door, and I stand out and I say, okay, can you do it yourself? And then I turn around and I say, are you doing okay? Are you doing okay? And I usually do not go in there unless they, and if they're being potty trained, I mean, unless they're in a diaper, I usually call the parents to, oh, they had an accident or they want to be wiped or something. I don't think I should be doing it, and so it's that kind of stuff. But that's for the younger ones.
Even things like if you're a station leader, when your group is finished, maybe walk to the door with them all and be outside the door as they all leave. So because there's always that situation where you're left in the room with the last one.
Oh, right.
And
right.
even things like that, it's
right.
kind of just
right.
helps to sort of get them all out at the same
yes,
time.
yeah. And I think it's, and it's not like you're gonna finish this and think, oh my gosh, I hope I remember all that stuff and I hope I don't do it. And I mean, it's, I mean, you know where your heart is at. I mean, if you have any questions, ask me. We've never really had any problems with this, but we did, in the history of the church, there was a situation where somebody left and then it turned out that they were charged as, they were accused of some things. And so it just, it's one of those things that reminds me, we just have to, we just have to be diligent with this as best we can. And we encourage you to use safe touch methods when having physical contact as often as possible. A pat on the back, a handshake, these days fist bump, shoulder, side to side hugs.
High fives are okay?
I think it's okay. I think this day and age, I really think that you're going to still run the gamut between people who are like, yeah, they're going to, cough and then give you a high five, and then the other end where somebody is going to have 2 masks on and are very cautious. So I think, and actually nobody should be coughing into their hand and giving somebody a high five, in my opinion. But I mean, that's not really gonna happen. But I think that the fist bumps are probably better. I need to talk with Malcolm and Joe about what we're gonna do with. As of now, the masks are going to be optional, and we're going to get. I think we're gonna stick with that unless something happens. We've always followed what the county says. But I did want their temperatures to be taken when they check in, actually.
Okay, that's fine. I was going to comment that Sue's been monitoring what's going on. The test positivity rate, which is an indication of the number of people that are positive, is now 11% in our county. So 1 in every 9 people is likely carrying, and that does not include the people who don't report because they did their tests at home.
Right.
So it's going to be more than 1 in 9 people are probably positive. Right. So we, like I said, I think I'm going to have to get with Joe. Well, I'm not saying we have to do anything different.
No, but it is.
We just need to be aware.
Yes, yeah. Right, and that's kind of the way it's been a lot. We've always just followed with the county. Now this week, if the county changes the mask mandate, then that's gonna change, and I'm gonna want it, people to wear masks. So.
One more thing about the physical side of things. This is just a sort of example. I was in a school group, like we did a good news club in a school. Yeah. And one of my helpers, who was an older lady, we didn't know she was going to do this. I think we were doing the story of Elijah being taken up to heaven in the chariot. She thought it would be fun to pick up a girl sitting in a chair and start waving. And I'm laughing because it was like, for so many reasons, this is not a great idea. And she wasn't bending her knees either. And it was like, I didn't know who to feel more scared for. The girl or the older lady. So, just things like that, guys. Just if in doubt, don't go there.
Yeah, exactly. If in doubt. Don't pick up any kids and chairs.
Don't pick anyone up.
Please.
Don't make anyone fly.
Right. Yes. Okay. Number 3, all physical contact should occur in reference to the needs of the minor, not the needs of the adult student volunteer. So like if you're having a bad day and you're like, you want the hug from the kid. No. I mean, if you're having a bad day, you're gonna have to. We'll talk to you. We'll hug you. So number 4, all physical contact should encourage self-esteem. 5, all physical contact should take place in public. It should never occur behind closed doors in private or secret. 6, all physical contact should be age appropriate. Holding a toddler on your lap is appropriate, while having a 10-year-old sit on your lap is inappropriate, and no massages. Okay, if you need to say anything, anybody can raise your hand. Discipline must never include physical contact, unless you are restraining a child if he or she has become violent. Adult volunteers should not administer any physical discipline, spanking, to their own child in the presence of other children.
So we had a situation last year where a child in Jan's group decided he wasn't enjoying it and wanted to go home. Which meant that he, quite forcefully, he was only about 4 or 5 years old, but he went to the front door and kept trying to get out. So I had to physically place myself. I think I did have to restrain him gently, but Jan was always with me, and we got other people involved. But I just basically had to sit between him and the door. So there are going to be times where because we couldn't obviously let
Right.
the child out because there's cars out there. Who knew if he was a runner? So there are times when you have to think about what a situation demands, but just
Right.
just use a lot of wisdom, and if you can, restraint should be the very
Last.
the last resort.
And I think, with the, one of the pastors or the,
Yeah.
The leaders,
Yeah.
they can always help in a
Yeah.
situation like that.
And
like
call
it
for
sounds
help.
like what
There's going to be floaters.
Oh, yeah,
Get someone
yes.
else involved as well.
Right,
So that,
right,
if you
right,
can.
right. Okay, thanks, Malcolm. 8, adult volunteers must use discretion when communicating about details concerning sexual activity. I've never seen this happen. It doesn't, it's just, I think it just needs to be in there, but. 9, adult volunteers must, in a considerate manner, redirect minors from inappropriate touching, sexual discussions, or sexual language. In case of resistance, please contact ministry leader or the minor's parents. So this is also, the Safe Touch policy is also for volunteers in church ministry and stuff. So some of those things apply to a volunteer there. 10, adult student volunteers must dress modestly. 11, adult student volunteers must avoid full body frontal hugs with minors. So, I feel like this is such a tricky one because, I could totally see, a Sia or some other, usually the 2nd, 3rd graders, Daniel, I haven't seen you in a long time, and then jumping up on him. And I think that, and the kids do that. Can you come towards me for a minute, Mary? I'm just going to show you. I just, so pretend like you're, oh yeah, is your knee okay? The person who just had knee surgery.
What are you going to do to it?
I know, I'm not going to hurt you. But pretend like you're a child and you come up.
Go ahead,
Hi, honey. And then I just see if you just turn your body, it naturally, it does. It's hard though because a lot of kids, they
They're more limber than we are.
What?
They're more limber than we are.
I know, but you see, you can, as best you can. And some, there's people in the church who have, they're really close to, Malcolm, they see him outside, the families are friends and stuff like that, but I think just as much as you can, just be mindful of it, and if you can turn, I try and, it's harder because, like, with the little ones, you can't, and a baby, you're picking up the baby. So it's this is more for like elementary kids. And I would say just be mindful of it.
My grandson will be there, so I will give him front hugs.
Right. So she's gonna,
So,
she's gonna,
this is my grandson, it's okay.
And he probably will go to Uncle Mark or Uncle John. I meant. Okay. 12, children should not be shaken or hit, and they shall not receive threats of being shaken or hit. I've never experienced that happening. I think we just have to have it in here. 13, children shall not be subjected to abuse or profane language. Again, I haven't really seen any of that. 14, children shall not be subjected to any form of corporal punishment or threats of corporal punishment. 15, no adult volunteer shall give a ride to any minor unless there are others in the car with them and parents of said minors have agreed to that ride. Questions to ask yourself when interacting with minors. Is what I am doing pleasing to Christ? Does it contribute to the building up of the body of Christ in His church? Does it encourage a minor's emotional growth and feelings of self-worth? To me, that's important. Would my interaction with the minor be the same if my pastor, spouse, or their parent were present in the room? It's also a good.
Stephanie, can I jump
Yes.
in again? Sorry, I'm going to go back to number 8. Adult volunteers must use discretion when communicating about details concerning sex activity. That's not us telling them stuff, it's when they might be revealing that something that might be going on at home, and that is quite a serious one. If anyone, I think we are mandated reporters, or I am certainly, and
Yes.
I'm guessing yours definitely.
Yeah.
Joe. So if anyone says anything about a situation that might be going on at home, that does need to be shared with one of the leaders here so that we can follow that up. If a child says to you at any stage, you must promise that you don't talk about this, you can't agree to that
can't.
promise. If they're saying
Absolutely
stuff,
not.
it then has to be, it
Yeah.
might not be anything, but it must be reported and it must be shared
Yeah.
so that we then know what to do about it.
Right.
And a child might, I mean, it hasn't really happened, I don't think, but we don't know all these children. And
Mhm.
someone might start saying, my dad beats me, or
Right, right.
or
My dad always
some stuff's
that.
going on,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
this is happening with my uncle, or whatever, you know.
Right,
So
right.
we do have a responsibility not just to ignore that stuff.
So-
But do not promise, do not agree to, I
Yes.
promise not to talk about this.
Right.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is not limited to sexual activity. Because
Uh,
beating is not sexual activity.
well, no, I mean, there wasn't, there
Abuse.
wasn't,
But I wanna make sure
Well-
that we all understand that if we need to tell people about this,
right,
it's not just limited to sexual activity. Things that are going on in the home
right,
that are of real concern
yeah,
of their physical health,
yeah,
emotional
Might
health,
wanna
all those
change that.
things have to be reported.
Yeah.
right.
Will you
Now,
work?
you're probably a required reporter, aren't you? Okay, and
Will
you
you-
wanna explain what that is to people here?
Don't, not on yours, but
Well,
on this
basically,
one,
I'm what's
you
called a
mark.
mandated reporter,
Read
so
it.
that if
Look
I
at
hear
that.
something, I have a duty to report it or to take
Right.
it further. And yeah, I can't agree just to keep quiet about it or say,
Right.
oh, it doesn't matter. You
And
know,
this is true for virtually all teachers
yes,
Yes.
and almost anybody who normally interacts with children.
right. Now, it may not be that, you know, if you're a station leader, you may never hear something like that. But if you're one of the leaders taking a group around and getting to know these children, you just never know what they might suddenly come out with. So,
And I think you might never know. Maybe Mary's doing the snack, and a kid says, you know, something, you know,
yeah,
I don't know, you know, I never have dinner, or I never have enough food in my house, and she overhears that. I think if you're in doubt, just bring it to us, but either Joe, Malcolm, or myself, and bring it to us, and then we'll evaluate what we need to do at that
Yeah.
point.
that's
yeah.
all.
Yeah. Is that okay? We got that? Okay. Okay, so, okay, so this is just at that last paragraph. If the answer to any of these questions is no, the whole things we just mentioned, if you're asking yourself that in interactions, then stop the interaction immediately, remove yourself from interacting with minors, and analyze your motives and actions. Meet with the church leadership if you have questions about the appropriateness of your conduct. And then what you're going to do is you're going to print your name, sign it, and date it, and then you're going to give it back to me. And does anyone have any questions? If you have a question and you don't want to bring it up here, you can send me an email.
Today's the 18th.
Yeah.
18th today?
Yeah, 18th.
Yeah, so my goodness gracious.
Tomorrow's Father's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
I'll do it backwards.